What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. It's Saturday, so time to take a look back at the last 2 weeks, talk about the players who have fallen the most by ADP. 2 weeks ago, we predicted that Breece Hall, Brian Robinson, Ken Walker, Rashad Bateman, and Tyquan Thornton would see their ADPs fall. For 5 straight weeks, we had gone 3-2, but we broke that streak last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago, going 4-1. Brian Robinson, Ken Walker, Rashad Bateman, and Tyquan Thornton all saw their ADPs fall, with Breece Hall ruining our perfect week. He rose half a spot in ADP, which was surprising to me. I actually was probably the most confident that Breece Hall would fall when I was doing drafts. I was seeing him slip a lot into like the 4th round, honestly, at times. I guess that was only like a few day thing. People didn't get too concerned about him not starting in week 1. So we're getting closer. I can feel a perfect week coming. Hopefully this week we can go 5-0. As always, stay tuned for those predictions at the end of the video. All right, so who's been falling over the last 2 weeks? Not from those players. Biggest one has been Giants wide receivers again, but this one's a little bit more specific. So remember, like multiple weeks ago, we talked about how all Giants players in general were trending down. That trend has stopped. But with all these positive reports about Paris Campbell, who is the #1 riser over the last 2 weeks, he's up 3 rounds now. Honestly, I've been seeing him getting taken in like the 14th round. Like he's going way up in drafts. That has caused people to take a second look at the Giants wide receiver core and be like, well, if Paris Campbell's going to do this stuff, if we like Saquon, if we like Waller, let's just tank everyone else. And so Jalen Hyatt and Wan'Dale Robinson are both down as like the #1 and #2 fallers over the last 2 weeks. Hyatt is down 2 rounds, now going in the 16th. Wan'Dale Robinson has made his way like into the 18th round. I've seen him go undrafted at times. We've been over Giants wide receivers plenty, so we won't spend too much time on this one, but the current reports are basically that Paris Campbell is going to have a large role on the offense, and that Wan'Dale, they're saying, isn't a lock to make the team. I think he's going to make the team. I think they invested enough draft capital in him, and like he was good when he played to where like it would be pretty shocking that one injury has him not making the team. Like I don't think that's very likely, so I'm pretty sure he's going to make the team, maybe get a surprise cut for someone else. But it's enough for me to be like, okay, you know, if I like Saquon, I like Darren Waller, and I do think Campbell will have a role, not necessarily maybe the role that everyone's kind of expecting right now, but a good role in the offense. It's enough for me to just say, like, at this point, I'm just going to pass on pretty much all Giants wide receivers. If you want to target Hyatt on a stack on Underdog or late in Underdog for like a spiked week, totally fine doing that. If you want to target Paris Campbell as like a value pick late, totally fine doing that. I would say especially for all of you in redraft leagues, probably at this point right now, just leave the Giants wide receiver core alone unless you're in like a pretty deep format. Another big time follower is Chase Claypool. He is down another round, now going in the 18th round as well, and I've seen him go undrafted at times. Just awful reports basically this offseason. Like nothing's been good in terms of Chase Claypool. And given that I don't think I've ever at any point in this offseason projected him as a top 18 round pick. None of this is surprising to me, but like there's no reason to go after him. It's not a high volume passing offense. He's not all that good. The trade never made sense there, but now it's looking like a horrific trade. Give me up a 2nd round pick for him. Just avoid him. Moving a little earlier, some rookie wide receivers are definitely down. Rashee Rice down 7 spots. Jonathan Mingo down 6 spots, both going now in the late 12th round. Nathaniel Dell is also down about half a round, now going in the later 18th. I think this is mostly due to just the time of year we are in. Camps are not going to start up until like in like the 20s. I think every team is a little bit different, but we've got about 3 weeks until we see training camps open, the pads go on, and now we're getting daily reports about everyone's progress. And that's really when we're going to see different players gain a lot of steam, lose a lot of steam, right? Based off even like one tweet at times from beat reporters. And this time of year, there's really no like new news, and that impacts rookies the most, in my opinion, since, you know, we know the least about them. And so a lot of people are like, well, I don't really want to invest in this player that I haven't heard much about. I mean, when's the last time you heard like a really good report about Jonathan Mingo. Like it's probably been like a month. And so it's a little bit more difficult to click draft on him when you're like, okay, I know a little bit from like a month ago, but maybe I'll just lean towards this other player that I know a little bit more about. And so you kind of see that happening with rookies this time of year. I would kind of expect all these like rookie wide receivers, even at times rookie running backs, to slip a little bit in the draft again until we get to camp and until a report comes out. They're like, oh, Mingo's vying for that like number 2 spot, and they think they could really utilize him. Then his ADP skyrockets back up. But until we get into that July time, I think it makes sense that they are falling. Although, say for Rashee Rice, Sky Moore has gotten a lot of buzz recently, and Sky Moore's ADP is up. So Sky Moore's ADP is going up if that's the player that Rashee Rice is competing with for a lot of the snaps out of the slot. Then it makes sense that his ADP is going down. Also, I think there was a report for Nathaniel Dell that it's kind of locked in for like Nico Collins and Robert Woods as the 1-2. Maybe also that like Dalton Schultz is kind of locked in as like a big threat in the receiving game. As people look at that and they're like, well, not that great of a passing offense. How often do rookie quarterbacks really support multiple pass catchers? So like, again, all these drops kind of make sense. Moving a tad earlier, Juju is down half a round, now going in the late 9th round. This one is not because of the Parker signing that happened like when I'm recording this yesterday or the day before. That has not enough time to like impact ADPs. I would imagine this is more based off of the DeAndre Hopkins rumors as of recording this. New England still seems like the most likely destination for Hopkins, though at this point we're really just working off of rumors for everything. Yes, I know the Parker signing has like big numbers, but it's very much incentive based. Like, can he make all pro? Can he stay on the roster? Can he hit certain bonuses? Like, that's really where the deal comes in. It actually frees up a little bit of cap space for them. So it doesn't like, hurt them in trying to sign DeAndre Hopkins. That doesn't mean they're going to, but just I want people to understand that part. But it really goes back to what I kind of said before. Again, this time of year, there are no reports. And when we have these new situations, people are a little bit wary. Juju missed all of OTAs working back from the knee injury. So that's the only news we've gotten, and it's negative news. We haven't really gotten any positive news for Juju. So when you combine that with the Hopkins rumors, with the Parker signing, like I would not be surprised if his ADP didn't like fall a little bit more. I will say though that like I don't think he has a ton of upside in the sense that like he finishes wide receiver 1. Like I don't think that's really in his range of outcomes this season. But if he works his way into the 10th round, I mean, we're approaching a range where there's a lot less certainty for every player, not even just at the wide receiver position, like at all positions, a lot less certainty in that range. And even if New England signs Hopkins, like Juju's still going to have a very significant snap share. The offense is not going to be good, but he can kind of get there with receptions. He'll never be like a real red zone threat. But I guess my point is, if Hopkins signs, and if people look at like Parker signing this new deal, they sign Hopkins, and Juju really starts to slip into like the 11th, 12th round, I do actually think there's some value in taking him that late because he is definitely going to have a role in this offense, and that's not something you can say about a lot of players in that range. But again, for right now, we're kind of in wait and see mode. Looking inside the top 100, Dalvin Cook is the number 1 faller, which is highly questionable in my opinion. We know with close to 100% certainty that Dalvin Cook is going to sign somewhere. We don't 100% know yet what the team's going to be, but whatever team he goes to is going to give him a sizable workload. I think that people are just being a little bit impatient right now. They want to know where he is. He hasn't signed yet. They're like, well, maybe he won't sign anywhere, and they're like not drafting him, but I would in this range. I mean, it's the late 7th round. Again, a lot less certainty, especially at the running back position that late. Why not take a shot on the upside of Dalvin Cook? If he takes the deal with Miami, we know Miami did offer him a deal. We knew that was always going to happen. It's really just come down to what's the money going to look like? Who's going to offer him the most? Does he want to go there? But if he signs with Miami, then there's no way he ends up as a 7th round pick. And even if he signs with someone else, it's like he's going to a spot that is going to use him. So if he signs with someone else, that means they're giving him a good amount of money and they're going to give him a strong workload. So the odds are he's going to end up going earlier than this ADP by the end of August. And so again, I would definitely be drafting him right now. Second biggest faller inside the top 100 is Michael Pittman Jr. He's down 4 spots, making his way into the early 6th round. I'll put up his ADP graphic, which you can see for free on my website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. You can look at this for any player that you want. But as you can see, not a crazy decline over the last 2 months, but more recently, it's been kind of a steady drop for him. I think people are just more coming to terms with how bad the Colts passing offense is going to be. Maybe they're not going to be horrific on a per play basis, but they're certainly not going to be good on a per play basis. And the plays will be down. They're just going to run the ball a lot. A lot of dropbacks are going to turn into scrambles for Anthony Richardson. And so it's just not a good situation. I have not been drafting Pittman, but he's approaching a range where he's getting really close to my rankings, and I like him enough as a player to where I'm going to start drafting him soon, because I don't think he's a good pick in the 5th round. But as he works into the 6th round, and this is for Underdog, like he's probably closer to like the 7th round in a redraft league, because Underdog's a 3 wide receiver format, I guess, in a 3 wide receiver format around the 6th round. But like, I like him in that general range. And I think it's worth the risk that late because he is a fantastic wide receiver. He's a very, very talented player. He's, in like the prime of his career. He's clearly their one. And so all those things are going for him. But again, in the 5th round of a 3 wide receiver format, not in love with it just because rookie quarterback, mobile quarterback, not high passing volume. And we don't know how efficient he's going to be, but good enough player to where I like him in the 6th. And honestly, the only other like notable name inside the top 100 that's falling is JSN, who's only down even 3 spots, but there's really no one else. Still going in that same 6th round range as Pittman. And I think this is, again, just kind of a rookie thing. The rookies need camp hype to sustain their ADPs. And without that, they're all going to slip a little bit just until camps return in mid to late July. It hasn't impacted ADPs yet. There's been a little bit of steam on Twitter about Lockett. I think we're going to see Lockett's ADP rise a little bit. I think it's going to flip right now. I'm pretty sure JSN has a higher ADP than Lockett. I think that's going to flip. I think Lockett's going to be going a little bit before JSN. But I think it will be temporary. I do think we're going to get into a time in like July, in August, where I believe in the talent of JSN. I think he's going to really produce in camp. He's going to have some like really good highlights. He's going to play well in the preseason to where I think his ADP right now makes sense. If it dips a little bit, it's probably just going to be a short dip. So those are the biggest fallers over the last 2 weeks, but who do I think will see their ADP drop over the next 2 weeks? One player is Tyreek Hill. I personally think nothing is going to come of this situation, but people do not like to mess with their 1st round picks, especially early 1st round picks. So I think people are going to panic a little bit, just not knowing what's going to happen. I have had Cooper Kupp ranked ahead of Tyreek Hill for a while now, but Tyreek Hill has always been drafted ahead of Cooper Kupp by ADP. I think over the next 2 weeks, that is going to flip, and I think people want the safety of Cooper Kupp over Hill. I'm also going to flag plant another week of Ken Walker falling in ADP. He is still going too early. I still think people are going to slowly realize that and take him later, so flag planting that one again. 3rd player, Anthony Richardson. Again, we've been seeing Colts ADPs drop. I didn't mention Alec Pierce, but he's down as well. He goes in a range where there's a lot of other really good quarterbacks going behind him. I think he kind of approaches their ADP. He's going around pick like 98, 99 right now. I think he makes it into the low 100s. Incredible rushing upside, but without any sort of camp hype, I don't think he can sustain the ADP that he's at. Number 4, KJ Osborne. Not only is he behind, obviously, Jefferson, Hawkinson, Addison on the depth chart in terms of targets, but there's been a little bit of hype after Jalen Naylor. I think that's how you say his name. My model actually really likes him. Doesn't think he's going to be some like monster breakout, but thinks he's a very efficient wide receiver, thinks he can be good. And there's a little bit of buzz about not him overtaking Osborne, but stealing some snaps. And maybe if they want to move on from Osborne after the season, him stepping up as that wide receiver 3. But I think the point is, projections right now, if you're going to project Osborne for about where he's going, you basically need them to run 3 wide receiver sets and not be rotating like anyone else in. And if they are going to at all, then Osborne's not a great pick. I think people are honestly just looking for something to not take Osborne because it's kind of a gross pick to make. I think this might be their opportunity. I think his ADP goes down a little bit. And then the final player is going to be my world's largest flag plant. We've been talking about it for a while now. Tyquan Thornton. Please stop drafting him in the 14th round. It makes absolutely no sense. He was bad last season. We never expected him to be good. He's really just fast. He's never going to earn targets at like a really high level. We haven't seen Juju yet. Parker just got a new deal. Potential for Hopkins to be signing with the team. Plus the Pats are going to run a ton of like 2 tight end sets. So most of the time they're going to have 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 2 receivers. And you're telling me that on a lot of snaps that second receiver is going to be Thornton, especially if they sign Hopkins? No, there's going to be Parker out there. There's going to be Juju out there. Thornton's really just going to be a deep threat. Even if they don't sign DeAndre Hopkins, it's just like, in what world is Thornton worth a 14th round pick? Maybe he'll have a few spiked weeks, but there's no upside. There's absolutely no upside season long. His ADP is way too high. So you can see the top risers and fallers in whatever form you want, whether you want to see a graphic of just the top 10 for each one, a table for everyone. If you want to look specifically at certain players, you can see all of that for free on my website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. I'll be back tomorrow to go over another optimal underdog strategy, Monday for another episode of Mock Draft Monday, and then Tuesday live 6:30 Eastern to an underdog draft with all of you, answer any questions you have, so please come with questions. That, my friends, is the one. Hope you all enjoy. If you did, how about hitting the like button and how about subscribing to the channel if you're new here. Thanks for watching.